Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Ashton Jackson, man. In today's video, we're going to be talking about OTA practice number 2. We're going to be reviewing all the no shots of Nick Harris, crediting him. We're going to be mainly using the things and his notes that he was seeing out there because he's out there working for the Star. So shout out again to Nick Harris. We're going to be using his notes. And I'm going to be overviewing about what Brian Schottenheimer has said about Dak, George Pickens, Tyler Guyton, most importantly. We're going to be talking about Joe Milton having a better practice. Jay Toia, our rookie defensive nose tackle at UCLA, drafted in the 7th round, getting first team reps. And, you know, we're going to be talking about cornerback shifts and could the Dallas Cowboys be in position play for another corner. So before we hop into the video, I'd appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. I'm going to show this one tweet from Nick Harris, and it was really just Brian Schottenheimer continuing praise for George Pickens. Just telling him, just telling the media and telling us as fans that he's picking it up. He's doing a really great job picking up the system and things like that. I think the second major point that we're going to talk about that Brian Schottenheimer talked about really was how we need a big year out of Tyler Guyton. Again, I just think when he played 9 games last year, and you come into a lame duck year with Mike McCarthy, basically everyone on that staff was on a 1-year deal. Mike Solari was on a 1-year deal, offensive line coach, and then we had Mike McCarthy as a 1-year deal. It was basically like Super Bowl or bust for that roster, and we knew how terrible the roster was when it came for the Dallas Cowboys, and you combat that with Tyler Guyton only playing 9 games at right tackle for Oklahoma, and then having to switch to a different position at left tackle in the league, and then we're expecting him as Dallas Cowboy fans because of we just got done off of a 10-year really relationship with Tyron Smith, and then for him to basically he left for 1 year, then retired. A Dallas Cowboy, that's cool, but we had those similar expectations. Not we, I'm sorry. When I mean we, I'm talking about the greater majority of the Dallas Cowboy fans, not myself. I already knew he was a developmental project. I'm viewing this year as his first real year because of, again, the circumstances. You had a terrible offensive line coach. Everyone basically admitted to that, how bad the offensive line coach was in Mike Solari, and then everyone's job was on the line, so they really didn't have much faith in Tyler Guyton. That was more like a front office pick more than it was a coaching staff type of pick. But Brian Schottenheimer had said that he said that he'd be remiss if he didn't mention that Tyler Guyton had a terrific offseason. He's been working his behind off. He looks great. And then to add to what he had, that was his first initial quote, then probably there was another follow-up. He's, again, more of what Brian Schottenheimer had said was that Tyler Guyton has been having a great offseason. I think some of the new things that Clayton Adams and Connor Riley have brought really fits him. He has not missed a day. He was one of the first guys back in the building. He understands how important this year is for him. And I do think that this is an important year for him because I do think that if he does not pan out well, I will not be shocked if the Dallas Cowboys spend another first-round draft pick next year for a left tackle if Tyler Guyton does not work out. I want Tyler Guyton to work out. We drafted him for a reason. I want to shift our needs in the first round next year to be something different. I don't want it to necessarily be on an offensive lineman. If that's what it is next year, so be it. I'm not going to be, I wasn't part of the war anyway between team weapons or team trenches, but I don't want to spend another capital on offensive line if we don't need to. If we can work what's in-house right now with what we got with Clayton Adams as our OC, Connor Riley as our offensive line coach, if they're able to mold Guyton into a really fine and great player, that's it. Again, there are things that you can't teach him. You can't teach 6'8", and you can't teach great feet for that size and for that position. That's things he already has down. We already know what he needs to work on. It's just hand placement, being more powerful with his hands, play strength. He added on more weight this year. He doesn't look like a tight end similar to what he looked like last year. He looks more like a bulked up offensive lineman. Again, he's very young. He was 21. He's around my age. So he's getting, he's going to get more vetted into the league. He's going to be a great player. We just need to mold him. That's it. He's a very, very inexperienced offensive line. I think the misconception from what we got from our past Hall of Fame offensive linemen, from Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, and Tyron Smith, all guys drafted in the first round. And Tyler Smith, you want to add that to the group as well as a damn good plug-and-play first-round offensive lineman. I believe what helped those 4 guys and those 4 men is that they were born to play offensive linemen. Sometimes, man, offensive lineman, that's one position you have to be born to play. There's a few positions you have to be really great, but you just have to be born an offensive lineman. Some of the offensive linemen that I knew growing up, man, most of them were big bone most of their entire life. That's not an attack on anybody, but I'm just saying that some of the better offensive linemen and the guys that are good up front and playing defensive tackle or nose tackle, most of those guys have been big their entire life. Tyler Guyton was probably bigger in his life, but he wasn't made to play offensive lineman. He was one of those big, tall guys you'll put at different positions trying to get disadvantages and things like that when he would play, in football camps and things like that. But Tyron Smith, athlete. Zach Martin, born to play offensive lineman. Travis Frederick, born to play offensive lineman. When you're born to play offensive lineman, when you come into the league and you play offensive lineman coming into high school, college, it's a little easier. It's a bit of an easier transition to you than rather Tyler Guyton just being a big athlete, him playing nose tackle at TCU, him playing in sometimes fullback situations at TCU as well, and then him finally making the transition to Oklahoma and becoming an offensive lineman. That's different. It's a different type of life. The offensive linemen live a different life than other players, right? But now when we're talking about the actual practice, shout out to Nick Harris again. Dak Prescott continued to show his mobility. Really good coming off that hamstring injury. He meaning Nick Harris had Dak Prescott 14 of 18 passing with 2 drops from Luke and CeeDee Lamb, 1 Kaiir Elam, a PBU, and a 1 missed throw down the left sideline. Running back Miles Sanders flashed multiple times today. He had 2 completions on a screen pass and a swing pass. He bounced an inside run out for a good gain. Has a spring and step, fluid runner, and worked the first team alongside Javonte Williams. We're still trying to figure out the rotation of the running back room. I think if there's a surprise guy that can ball out for us and a running back, we keep talking about Javonte, we keep talking about Jaden Blue. We're talking about involving Hunter Lepke. I don't even know if this coaching staff is even going to want to use a fullback, right? I think we might use Hunter Lepke in that tight end, running back type of the type of position on our team. But I would not be surprised if we carry 3 running backs this year. I would not be surprised if the third one is Deuce Vaughn or Miles Sanders. I think that's really what the running back 3 room is going to come down to, is between those 2 players. If Deuce Vaughn gets an actual shot, I think Deuce Vaughn can play in this league. Do I think he's going to be at his peak a guy like a Darren Sproles? I don't think so. I don't believe that. But I think he can be a damn good utility player, a satellite type back, where you utilize him in certain packages. You get him out there in space versus slower-footed linebackers and safeties that can't cover. And I think Deuce Vaughn can win matchups like that. Again, he was one of K-State's best running backs of all time in school history, has records there. One of the tapes that flashed for me when I would watch him was versus Alabama in the, I think it was in the Cotton Bowl or one of the Peach Bowl, whatever it was playing, versus Alabama. He had one of his best careers at K-State against them in 2022, 2023. So I do think he can be a damn good player for you. It's whether or not he gets the chances or not. But if he does get the chances, can he make the most of his opportunities? We're going to find out. But I think that running back 3 spot is really going to be between either Miles Sanders or Deuce Vaughn. If we get K-State, Deuce Vaughn, or if we can't get K-State, Deuce Vaughn, but we get Philadelphia, Miles Sanders, I think your perception about running back, about wanting to sign one, trade for one, changes a whole lot if you're able to get something out of either Deuce Vaughn or Miles Sanders. I think that's what the running back room and your perception of the running back room can change if one of those 2 guys can get back to their old selves, basically, is what I'm saying about the running back room. And same thing with Javonte Williams. If Javonte Williams is anything close to what he was in 2021, and we all remember what he did against us when we played him in Dallas when he was a Denver Bronco. So if any of those 3 running backs I just named reach their full potential or go back to them old selves, I think, again, you feel entirely different about your running back room than you would just maybe a month ago, 2 weeks ago, right? Donovan Ezaraku was working in 7-on-7, dropping in coverage in the flat. He looked natural doing that. Again, we're going to be utilizing Donovan Ezeraku in different type of packages. He's going to be a really good player, and I'll talk about that more when I do a film session on him. Tons of quick game today with the offense with all three of the quarterbacks. All three of the quarterbacks were Dak, Joe Milton, and Will Greer. Large handfuls, of hitches, curls, swings, screens, crossers. Much more consistent day from Joe Milton than last week than what he did. Nate Harris had him for 7 for 8. One throw behind Beverin Spanford. That was a one missed throw. But highlight came on a 40-yard pass to Ryan Fulton for a touchdown. And Will Greer was 3 for 3 in the limited amount of reps that he had. And then in individual drills from the cornerback room, we saw Deron Bland, Keemon Hall, Ezra Mukwamu, and Zion Childress work as a slot corner group. This is where the cornerback rumors are coming into effect where, Deron Bland, if you guys don't know, when he came in out of Fresno State, he mainly played nickel corner, and that's when he had an underrated rookie year. That year we had 5 interceptions, and then 2023 he came in playing nickel cornerback free for the first 2 weeks when Trayvon Diggs was healthy, because we had Diggs, Gilmore, and then we had Bland playing the slot. Then Diggs goes down, we move Bland to the outside, we put Jay Lou in the slot, and then we saw a really good year in the back end, right? But I think at our full peak, I think that Deron Bland is a damn good nickel corner. And I think that the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, should consider, if you want to go the cheaper route, but the mercenary for hire, and you get a 1-year stopgap until you figure out what goes on with Savon Revel, Josh Butler. If you maybe want to draft on the corner next year, maybe Kalen Carson, arrives, or whatever the case might be. But if you want to go the cheaper route and don't have to spend any draft capital, and we can utilize that capital at a bigger position and of need, for me, will be nose tackle. But if Dallas Cowboys want to just sign a free agent, go sign Stephon Gilmore. If you say F them picks like Les Snead does, and for the Los Angeles Rams, trade your picks for a guy like Jalen Ramsey. To me, he should have been a Dallas Cowboy for the past 9-10 years, in my opinion. But if Deron Bland is going to stick to the slot, I think what they're really doing right now is they're still trying to figure out, what does Matt Eberflus feel comfortable with rolling out there, his 3 cornerback or his nickel type of spot. He wants to know 3 good corners that he can utilize and that can fit his system. If Deron Bland can play in the slot, Kaiir Elam can play on the outside, and then you get Stephon Gilmore, you trade for Jalen Ramsey, I would absolutely love your cornerback room. Savon Revel comes back, Trayvon Diggs come back, Josh Butler comes back, and then now when those guys come back, yes, it'll be a logjam, but now just think about the bigger play. If we get Stephon Gilmore and all those guys that just named come back, Savon Revel, Trey Diggs, and Butler, now when you get all those guys back around October, November, December, the late push for the playoffs, now you have 4 or 5 corners that can go out there and actually cover, because you'll have so many damn good corners that you can switch. You can put some at safety, put some at nickel, put some on the outside, have different packages for different type of scenarios for the game. You can have different type of cornerbacks for the different type of receivers that you're going to play each week. You can deploy different cornerbacks and just have a ball like that if you really wanted to. If, again, you sign somebody, trade for somebody like a Jalen Ramsey, or sign a Stephon Gilmore and then get those reinforcements back, now you think about cornerback room just a little bit differently than you would, again, right now. Also, to add to this DB room, Wanye Thomas and others saw time in 11-on-11 and 7-on-7. Running back Jaden Blue has some kickoff return today. And then defensive end Sam Williams was pretty active with the rehab group. He looks great physically. And then, we got to see what he looks like when he comes out and he plays. And again, Kaiir Elam, is an old, we talking about stacking good days on good days. That was a very old cliche quote from Jason Garrett. But Kaiir Elam and OTA so far, again, everything is different when you're in shells. Shells are just helmet and just you put your uniform on that so you don't put any pads on. Everything looks different when you're on air. What does it look like when you put those pads on? We're going to find out what Kaiir Elam, to me, really is. If he is, and he lives up to that first-round tag to what he was in 2022, I'm not even worried about really another corner. I mean, I would technically, yes, you should be worried about another corner, because I still will go sign me another corner or trade for a guy like Jalen Ramsey regardless of the situation. But if Kaiir Elam balls out, for me, what that does for me is I feel a lot more better about Savon Revel slowing down, resting, making sure that he's fully ready to come out and play. Same for Trayvon Diggs. We don't have to worry about rushing him back. And same goes for Josh Butler. If Kaiir, Elam can ball out for you. Jay Tuia saw some burn with the ones today. Kenneth Murray has looked apart early on in his time for the Dallas Cowboys. And energy continues to be high with Brian Schottenheimer. We hear about that all-time culture, high energy. We're hearing all of that. And, man, that was about it for practice. Second week of OTAs. You know, it's, again, very slow time. There's not much to really talk about. And if you guys are out on the internet, don't fall into those lists. Don't get into those big Twitter debates when it comes to where they're going to put certain receivers, certain quarterbacks, and what they say about, you know, where do they rank our tandem for George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. I don't really care. And you can't say it's, you know, show and prove me, Dallas Cowboys, what you do in January, but you're over here having Twitter fights about them in the streets in May for no reason, when we say that all what matters is what you do in the regular season that leads to the playoffs. So don't worry about what they say. Let everyone talk how they're normally going to talk in the offseason, because it's slow. They still need to pay. You know, don't forget, people still work during the summer, right? All the adults still work, so they got to pay bills, still got to pay for college tuition. Stuff don't change. So don't fall into those traps that the social media and the 3 or 4 letter networks are trying to get you guys into. That's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.